Construction champions, it's your host, Ron Nussbaum, and we're here for another amazing episode of Construction Champions Podcast, where, as always, we're burning the damn house down. And that house is your personal life, your business, your relationships with your employee, you name it. Anything that's keeping you from being a construction champion, we're here to burn that down and then build you back up. It is officially season 3 and welcome to 2025. Now, everybody, I know you do not show up for Ron Nussbaum. I'm a facilitator in this. I'm the one that brings you the rock stars to have the conversations about how you're going to get better in the construction industry. And today is no different. Rocio, it is fantastic to have you here with us today.
Super excited to be on here, Ron. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, why don't you take a minute or two or however long and introduce yourself to all the construction champions out there?
Yes. So, hi, everyone. My name is Rocio Luna, and I am a commercial insurance broker here in Southern California. I specialize in commercial insurance and lowering down EMRs for contractors and staffing agencies. And before I get into that, what an EMR is and what it does, it's pretty much a rate that determines your workers' comp premium. And it also is another rate that will qualify you to win bids. So it's very important that you know and control this rate. That way you are bidding and you're not overpaying on insurance.
Hmm. I love it. I think this is going to be a fantastic conversation. So just because she said workman's comp, don't everybody just tune it out. Because I know we can get like, they're ripping me off on my workman's comp. I can't believe I got to have this. So don't tune it out yet because you're going to learn today how to be able to take advantage of it. And I am super excited. So what we're going to do is we're going to dive right in there and I'm going to ask you the $1,000,000 question. And that is, what makes a construction champion?
Is communication chaos holding your construction business back? Emails, texts, and generic tools weren't built for your business. BuilderComms delivers a platform built for construction. Fully branded, custom workflows, and seamless integration, all designed to fix communication for good. From our free forever plan to your own custom solution, we make construction software not suck. Ready to transform your business? Book your free strategy call today.
What makes a construction champion is the grit, the sweat, the amount of hours worked. So every blue collar industry worker knows what it feels like to work early mornings and late nights. And that goes for any entrepreneur, right? So what makes a construction champion is someone that pours their heart, soul, tears into building a company because there's so many hours that get sacrificed in order for you to provide and build up your future for your family, for you. And even if you don't have kids and you're just a 22-year-old college kid getting into the trade, but you are starting off an apprenticeship. And that's what's the beauty about construction, right? Because you're able to build it up. You could have zero skills, but if you just pour in your full soul and it's something that you want, you'll be able to build something out of it.
Amen to that. Being a guy that came to the construction industry with zero experience and then just knocked my way up through the chain of command or lat, whatever we want to call it. Amen. And I love how you said in there that building a business. And I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times that's where the confusion lies. Because guys, they build, they're grinding it, but what they're doing is they're just building these houses, they're building these projects. They're not focused on actually building the core business for later down the road, especially if you're 20 some years old, just starting out. You have an opportunity by the time you hit 30s to have
Mm-hmm.
something amazing if you focus on building it now.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point that you bring up, Ron. So many, I think that some individuals, some contractors focus on their skill, their trade. It's like I know what I do. This is my. They're very proud, right? This is like they're awesome, amazing. So many hours built to building, building a house, being the best concrete guy, being the best what you are. And then when you switch that mindset into a business, there's different things. And I think where contractors hate is paperwork. That's where I come in, because paperwork is definitely something that I think a lot of contractors don't like to deal with. They don't like it, especially insurance. I mean, who understands insurance? Insurance is written in terminology that only attorneys understand. Because at the end of the day, nobody reads the renewal. Nobody reads what's inside of, even I, who I'm an insurance broker, I have not read every single little detail in my policy. So it really comes in to having the right people besides you. So like your accountant, attorneys, your bookkeeper, your tax guy, all these people build and are components of your business. So that way you're able to build up your business and also taking that mindset to like, okay, who do I need to bring on so I could spend more time here trying to build my business and bring on the right guy to manage the field. And then giving the opportunity to the youth or to whoever wants to come in and build it with you.
Yeah, I completely agree with the insurance thing. Like, look at it's like we just look, hey, all right, I can that cost seems like I can fathom that. That typically an increase, and we just continue rocking and rolling without even looking at it or understanding it. You are completely right when it comes to insurance. We just know what we're required to have, and most
Mm-hmm.
people don't know anything beyond that. And so you do this for construction companies. I always love when I have somebody on here that their expertise is in the construction area. It would only make sense. We're a construction podcast. But what I think I see happen a lot of times is I see guys go out to the local providers that might deal with a couple local construction companies, but they really don't understand the construction space.
Right.
I would have to guess there's a lot left on the table and probably a lot of liability out there with some of those policies. Am I correct or wrong on
No,
that?
you're correct. You're 100% correct. And especially now with the online marketing, a lot of people, they're starting out. You see ads for next.com. That's an easy, quick quote that you could get in when you're starting out. But the problem comes in when you start expanding. And let's say you're a residential guy now going into commercial and you're dabbling. Those policy limits and the requirements in the commercial job are completely different than a residential.
Hmm.
And as you start growing, there's certain things that your policy needs to have and make sure that you have those requirements in there. But just like you said, there's little things like that people they just get used to the renewal and they sign it. And it's not until they're like, whoa, 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 what's this 25, 35 increase premium? Like, why did this change? And that's when they start to realize, like, oh man, yeah, I did have one or two claims. I didn't know that these one or two claims were going to like increase my premium by 35%. Okay, like what policies and procedures, like what do I need to do now? I went from having three guys to now have 20 guys, and now it's getting out of hand trying to get a control over my insurance.
Yeah, I would think that's something that like people don't necessarily take into effect is like the business is growing. We have more employees. We're doing more revenue. We're doing maybe
Mm-hmm.
bigger projects or working on more expensive houses. And I think that's where that lapse in coverage comes is like your coverage from it. This is something that should be evaluated on an annual basis, or I don't even know. It might even be quarterly. I don't know. As you're growing a business, you're the expert. Like, how often should guys be evaluating this?
I would definitely say annual. If you are, obviously, if you're going from residential to all of a sudden commercial, 100% commercial, yeah, you want to notify your agent, broker about those changes, but definitely annual just because things do change, right? Sometimes people start shifting more into residential to commercial or vice versa, commercial into residential. They start expanding. So definitely you want to do the annual changes. And also with the annual changes comes with the how many subcontractors are you using, right? Because that's another thing that some contractors don't take into effect. Like, oh yeah, well, I also have to include that I'm subbing this out. So I have to make sure that I have the right coverage to make sure that my subcontractor is covered, unless to make sure that in case his insurance doesn't have coverage for it, at least mine does.
So I know with commercial, because we did some commercial stuff, they would typically send you like the requirement. Like, here's what
Yes.
we require for you to be on this job site. So guys know. what they should be having. Is that it's just probably as easy as sending that over to somebody like you to make sure like where we're at and be able to get the supporting documents, I would take it.
Yes. And then with that, there's actually been a lot of instances where people sign the contract not knowing what insurance requirements there are until they are required to get a certificate of insurance. They're like, oh shoot, I didn't know that I had to have a 3 million umbrella or a 5 million
That's
umbrella,
what I was gonna
and
say,
I
like a
only have
$10
one.
million insurance policy. Like
Hmm.
like people don't realize like that
The
you need to,
cost.
yeah, you need to understand what your costs are on that because
Hmm.
like it's not like a $5 or $10 million personal liability policy. Like
Hmm.
you can buy those for pennies on the dollar.
Hmm.
This isn't like that. So I think
No.
people think of it that way because they think person like liability, this can't be that much. I can make that happen. And it ends up being the profit for the job.
Yeah, 100%. You're 100% about that. And it's the thing, that same thing, like, right, your knowledge is construction, so obviously I would not expect a contractor to know the cost of an excess or an umbrella policy. That's why it's very important that you communicate this prior to your agent, or at least have that relationship, like, hey, you know what, I'm thinking about bidding this job. Can you give me a ballpark? And it's always like, give me a ballpark. And if you ask your agent or broker to give you a ballpark, they'll give you a ballpark amount for what it would cost you. That way you're not, putting a bid, and next thing you know, you're like, oh shoot, I didn't even, like you said, there goes my profits.
Yeah, no. So I mean, how much volatility is in that? Like if you start to you're bidding these projects, is it pretty standard to be able to like you're reading through the contract and it's a 2 million or 5 million or 10 million. You've had the conversations. Uh is it pretty, do you have to check that every time, or is that something that once you kind of have an understanding of what it's going to cost, you can just automatically add that into your quotes then and adjust for that?
Yes. And it's also based on your claims, right? So like, it's a guy who has zero claims is going to have a better price versus a guy who's had $500,000 in losses on a GL.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be that guy.
No, believe me, not in this market. Unfortunately, it's very expensive for those guys who've had large losses.
Yeah. What do you think's going to happen with insurance? Like we're just starting 2025 out. It seems like it's an industry that could be ripe for some disruption in it. What do you think the future holds?
I think 2025 is just going to be more expensive. I think that, yeah, it's definitely going to be more expensive. And I think I want to say that 2025 is you're going to be the breaking point where it's just like, it's too much. And now the government's going to go in there and try to facilitate and help out, or they're going to roll it over to 2026 and let it blow up and have another hard market. So to give you a little back end on the insurance. So the insurance on the commercial auto and the excess has been hard. The workers' comp and the general liability actually have been very soft. So they are still keeping their prices up. And it's my idea that they're not going to change it until both the workers' comp and the general liability follow. So then they're able to readjust.
Hmm, interesting. So it's just going to keep going up until it whatever's. What drives besides having incidences? Is there ways that guys can drive lower costs? Like, is there ways to be able to do that? Or is it pretty much just standardized? And if you have incidences, it goes up.
No, there's right. So let me share with you a couple of ways to credit, and get lower premiums. So one is definitely taking into account your safety, being able to provide documentation. So insurance companies, they love to see proactive contractors. So at the end of the year, if you're able to show like, hey, we did these safety measures, we changed this, we took this action, we implemented this plan, then the carrier could go and like, okay, well, I like this, and because of that, we are going to reduce your premium by X amount. So they'll add like 10, 15 points off your premium, and that definitely helps out. And especially for the guys who have a lot of claims and are able to show like, hey, we're trying to change this. I know it takes time, but help us out. They will. They love seeing that stuff.
Yeah, I would think anytime you're putting in, it's why documentation matters so much, is
Hmm.
put this stuff in. I mean, if you're having a lot of claims and a lot of incidences, you should probably be doing that anyhow, without thought process on what insurance is going to cost. But I can see how documenting that stuff and submitting it, having a record of what trainings you're doing, what safety things. Is it also like is having all I know in personal insurance a lot of times is like you there's heavy discounts for getting everything under one umbrella company or one deal. Is that does it work the same way for everybody in this? So like trucks and buildings and liability, is that something that you can have all with one carrier?
You could have, yeah, there are some carriers that offer packages. So that would be a package. And there are some carriers that will write your general liability, your commercial auto, and your workers' comp all together. And they do that, but they do have certain measures. So obviously those guys, they want to see a cleaner record for you to get the best premium. Um, and then they will offer that as well, and they have certain restrictions on how much on the trades too. So some trades that are more high risk, they're kind of out. So if you have to deal with mold, explosions, anything under digging under 6 feet, unfortunately for those guys, they really don't offer those type of packages. But
Hmm.
for everybody else, they do.
I do kind of sense that you feel like there's some cons with that there, like putting everything in one thing. Do you recommend guys to do that, or are you better off keeping your insurance kind of separated?
I would say you could, if it works out and the price is right, I would say definitely do that. And but if you start having claims in those programs, the way they pretty much try to kick you out in a nice way is that they increase your premiums. So if you're not careful with it, and your brokers and shopping you around, they'll keep you in that package, but your premiums are definitely a lot more than everybody else.
So
So like I said,
everything goes up,
mhm,
not just one of them,
no,
all of them would go
right.
up. Okay. That makes sense. Like you got whatevers, and then they're raising everything across the board. I
Yes.
like how you say that's how they nicely kick you out. So they just make
Yeah.
it more expensive than what you're willing to pay or what they know it's even worth.
Yes. And what I tell everybody is that insurance companies, they never lose money. So they never lose money. They're always going to increase their premiums. They're going to audit you. I don't know if you ever had an audit. Um, they could be headaches, especially if they're
Oh
not
yeah,
done
they could
correctly.
send somebody to the job site. I mean, we had a guy one time for a week going job site to job site, wanted to know the safety, everything we were doing, what it was like on a job site, what are the risks like this, and he was there to evaluate risks that we didn't even see, and understandings on all of that stuff. And when you're running 30 crews and you have a guy that's randomly popping in and out of job sites, it can be highly stressful.
Oh yeah, it is because they have to take one guy from his job. He's got to spend an hour, has to answer questions, and then if that auditor or that person for the insurance isn't well prepared, because I've noticed that sometimes um, the people from the insurance don't know your trade, or they're not well prepared and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot that you also need to fill out these questions. So they come in a second day when all of this could have been done within a 2 hour conversation or
Yeah,
less,
no,
30
absolutely. And
minutes.
I remember the guy telling me is like, if I see you on any one of these job sites that I'm on, like there's going to be problems. Like you cannot be out here whatevering. I need to be in the natural habitat of what's happening and learning what you guys do. And
Oh
it was
wow.
a
He was
headache.
really inside your trying to get
And we
into
never had any huge whatevers. A lot of might be right or wrong or whatever, but we took care of a lot of stuff. Like if it was under 10 grand, like we would just take care of it because we knew what it would do to the long-term effects of our insurance, if we just took care of it in-house. Now, that might be a completely wrong way to handle it, but yeah, so it was just a random whatever. The insurance, like I think they were having other issues with other construction companies, and they were trying to estimate their risk across their portfolio with construction companies. And that's how that all unfolded. We got like a 50 or 80 page report from this dude
Oh,
on
wow.
everything that he saw, it was an intense week.
Oh,
It all
yeah.
ended up working out. The stuff that he talked about was all stuff that easily was able to be implemented and not a problem. So that was good. But the week long, like it wasn't fun.
No, and imagine like you have your documentation right, you're doing the right measures. Imagine for the poor guys who don't, or they're just trying, swivel around, like how much how much nervousness that causes them and disruption as well.
Oh yeah, because I kept having these meetings with the foreman and the crew guys.
Hmm.
Like it's just like any other day. Like don't let him get in your head. Don't think about it. Just do what you would typically do. Like we do things the right way, so don't worry about it. And if he thinks there's something we could improve on, I guess there's something we could improve on. But like, don't let it get in your head because that's when you're going to do something. It's going to be a red flag that we would typically never do and boom bada bang. So like you're right, like it makes guys nervous, and when guys are
Hmm.
nervous, more shit can happen on a job site. People get hurt. There's when guys aren't making the decisions based on what they typically would make, the knowledge, the decisions they typically make when they second guess that is when people get hurt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation. I think we cleared up a lot of stuff about insurance for people. I don't, all listeners will have to tell us if they feel more confident in their like understanding of insurance and everything around it. I feel like I am. I loved it. So why don't you tell everybody out there where they can find you, follow you, connect with you, learn more about what you do?
Yes. So you could find me on LinkedIn under Rocio Luna, and it should be the first one that pops out as a workers' comp claim specialist. And you could also find me on Instagram under Rocio underscore INS underscore services. And my YouTube channel as well. It's like Rocio Luna. You're gonna have to type in workers' comp specialist and I should be able to pop out. But I love providing education and informing contractors about updates and giving advice too, about like, hey, this is something you want to watch out for. If you guys see this on here, you're getting taxed, you're getting, a surcharge. Watch out for these little things. So I love providing and helping out people in any way I can.
Awesome. Well, Rocio, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you so much, Ron.
Awesome. All right, construction champions, another episode in the bag. I can't even believe we're in 2025, and here we are. We're having the first episode of season one. And I think we touched on a subject that a lot of people don't want to talk about. Like we just kind of whatever insurance, we just kind of throw it to the side. As long as the premiums seem what we think they should be, and we're just making an educated guess on what they've been before, or what we hear other people are paying is the question are like, do you have the right coverage? What are you set up? We've heard it so many times on here for so many other things, but where are your holes in this? Because chances are, if it's not something that you're evaluating or have somebody that understands construction insurance, you have gaps, you have holes in your current coverage, which is going to lead to problems in the worst case scenario where something happens on a job site and claims happen. Like I was thinking we had not us, but a huge construction company in the area. They had a wall collapse, a couple of people died, and it was a huge deal and a huge settlement out of court, and it almost put them out of business. But they had the resources and the insurance. I mean, being a big operation, they had thought about this. But these are the hard questions we have to ask ourselves, even though they're not pleasant. I remember sitting in our leadership meeting one day having the conversation that if our truck ran a red light and killed somebody's kid in their car, how much liability insurance do you think we would need to not go out of business? Like, what is the check that would have to be written to that family in order to save the business? These are hard questions that have to be asked. And I don't want to, like, that never happened, thank God. But like, if you don't ask those questions and it happens and you don't have it's a done deal. Like, it's, people think LLCs and all of this protection and stuff we have, and in situations like that, stuff goes out the window and people become liable and mistakes happen. So when you're looking at this, make sure you have somebody that's in your corner, that's supporting you and understands what your business does. And then ask yourself some of the hard questions, because here's the thing, you only ever got to do it once. Once you do it once and you ask these hard questions, you have an understanding around this, you just get the appropriate coverage, and then you have somebody that monitors that for you. So Construction Champions, make sure you go check out all of our fantastic sponsors. And until next time, be the champion you were meant to be.
Tired of losing track of promising leads? Struggling to convert inquiries into contracts? Build 12 is your solution. Over 30 years of industry expertise tailored for contractors ensures seamless lead management and nurturing. Boost your closing rate with ease. Experience the efficiency today. Download Build 12 and supercharge your business growth. Don't wait. Act now.
Unlock the potential of property intelligence with HomeTrack. In seconds, generate over 250 data points from a single address using advanced imaging and public data. Streamline property assessments efficiently, saving both time and resources. Enhance your decision-making today. Experience the future of property insights. Engage with HomeTrack now.